It's hard to say what a data analyst does from day to day. Everyone's job's different, but we've curated a list of the most likely tasks you'll be working on in your first job as a junior data analyst. So if you want to do a better job, be sure to watch to the end. I've been working in the field of data for over 5 years, and as a senior data scientist, I've had to deal with many daunting, complex data tasks. So I have some experience in this field, but I still remember how difficult it was starting out. Whether it's reading job descriptions or working on your first project as a junior data analyst, you might be confused by all of the jargon and complex techniques that you're faced with. So to make it easier for you, if you're considering becoming a data analyst, I'll shed some light on what a data analyst typically does. After watching this video, I think you'll be a bit less apprehensive about becoming a data analyst. So, what does a data analyst do? There are typically 3 main areas: working with stakeholders, working with data, and working with reports. Working with stakeholders. This means working with the people in your business that make the decisions. You'll typically be involved in some of the following activities: working with management to understand their business requirements and translating those into a plan of action. For example, advising in strategy committee meetings, where you help key stakeholders understand if their business plans are achievable from a data perspective. Or another example is scoping project requirements, where you might take the objectives that your business gives you and translate them into achievable project goals. That means things like framing testable hypotheses, having a high-level sense of where the data might come from, and what some achievable outputs will look like. Prioritizing workloads. For example, maintaining a Kanban board on apps like Asana or Jira. This is basically a long list of all the work requirements your business has for you. And on a regular basis, as a data analyst, you need to go into that list and reprioritize with new inputs from the business or new prioritization of the importance of existing tickets. Identify critical metrics and KPIs. Some of the key KPIs might include customer churn or monthly reoccurring revenue. Your job as a data analyst is to quantify those metrics and then build reporting tools in order for the business to be able to see and monitor them. Monitoring critical metrics and KPIs is essential for understanding the health of your business. Basically, how much money is coming in, how much money are you spending, and are you growing or shrinking? Presenting findings to the business, by way of example, reporting monthly KPIs to the C-levels, or simply creating dashboards or PowerPoint presentations. So, the job of a data analyst requires you to develop those soft skills essential to helping people to understand the message that you're trying to convey. And encouraging data-driven decision-making. This might mean running internal seminars, running lunch and learns, or just organizing meetings where you explain the role of a data analyst. The key across all these examples is encouraging people to use data to make better decisions. Now comes the most hands-on part, working with the data itself. You will need to analyze data from a variety of primary and secondary sources. This might mean your platform database with data typically stored in SQL structures. It might mean working with external APIs where your customer data is stored by a third party and you consume that data typically in an unstructured format. Or it might mean IoT data. If a key component of your business is wearables or devices, then you're going to need to collect large sources of unstructured data from your clients in real time and derive insights from that data. For all of the techniques I've just mentioned, you're probably going to want to work with data engineers who will help you build the data pipelines required in order to harness that data. Next, let's filter, clean, and aggregate the data we've just collected. This typically involves identifying and treating missing or duplicate data or dirty data. This might mean having incorrect data types, multiple data sources, or other inconsistencies in your data. Once you've found these data issues, you're going to need to take steps to clean and treat that data. It's often helpful to build validation tests to ensure that in the future, these data issues are handled. You may also need to standardize or normalize your data. This can be required for some of the statistical tests that a data analyst typically does. You will need to aggregate data from multiple sources. We talked previously about data stored in your platform versus data coming from external APIs. These will often need to be aggregated together using complex joins, and you will build new tables as a result to store these new aggregations. Analyze the trends and patterns in complex data sets. Typically, a data analyst will perform complex statistical tests to spot anomalies or find patterns in the data. This might include A/B testing, hypothesis testing, or root cause analysis. With those patterns having been identified, it's up to the data analyst to summarize those findings. Working with reports. You've understood the requirements from the business, you've prepared the data. Now it's time to present your findings using visualization techniques. Creating new tables or views. Typically, this is done in SQL or in Python. Data analysts do this because you need the data in the right structure to present the findings you're interested in, and original data sources often aren't in that format. Building and customizing reports and dashboards. This might mean using a dashboarding tool like Tableau and Looker, and in that dashboarding tool, creating entirely new reports to summarize the findings you've just been researching. Or it might be as simple as creating a PowerPoint presentation to report to the business. Creating and maintaining documentation regarding the data tests and visualizations you've just created. This might mean maintaining an internal Wikipedia at your company, or it might mean building READMEs in GitHub repositories. Wherever the documentation is stored, it's your job as a data analyst to make sure there is documentation, so anyone coming into this project for the first time can really understand what it's all about. Well, now you have the complete list. You should be able to see that there's a lot of connectivity between these different areas. And in a typical project, you'll often find yourself going between each area. So maybe you present your findings with an amazing dashboard to the business and there's stuff they don't like about it or new information they want added. Well, you have to go right back to the process of working with the stakeholders to identify those business requirements, obtaining new data, and creating new visualizations. The data analytics role is quite diverse. In actual fact, it's often very hard to say from the outside what your primary roles and responsibilities will be. For example, who else is working in your team? How long have they been there for? Are they about to quit? It's really hard to know the answer to these questions before joining a company. Having said that, no matter where you work, you're going to be doing some of the tasks we listed in this video. If you still have any questions, or if there are any topics you'd like me to cover in a future video, leave a comment below. If these tasks sound interesting to you, or if you'd like to take the next step towards a job in data analytics, why don't you check out our free online short course on data analytics. With it, you'll start setting up your portfolio and take those all-important first steps towards landing your first job as a data analyst in the industry. The link to the short course is in the description below. Speaking of portfolios, why don't you check out this video here, where I go into more detail about how to create the perfect portfolio for landing your first job as a data analyst and what the hiring managers are looking for. That's it for me. Stay tuned for more great data analytics content. See you in the next one. What? That was weird. It wasn't my arm, it was someone else's arm.
That's fine.
Okay, all right.